The president's tariffs are expected to have a major impact on the price American shoppers pay for everything from groceries to auto parts. Brian Chung explains why.
Companies across the country bracing for tariffs, with a warning that it's the consumer that's going to pay the price.
It's everything that is at risk of becoming more expensive.
From Mexico, importers will now have to pay 25% more for items like fruits, vegetables, beer, liquor, and electronics. From Canada, 25% more for potatoes, grains, lumber, and steel. And from both, a big increase on pharmaceuticals and on auto parts. At S&S Automotive in Secaucus, New Jersey, more expensive imported parts means even pricier routine fixes.
Oil changes mainly. That'll be the first noticeable one. An average oil change on most vehicles now anywhere between $50 to $80. It's probably going to end up over $100.
And that means that you've got to raise the costs just to make sure that you can keep the lights on.
Right. And I don't like to do that because I've been in this town, like I said, 38 years. So most of my customers I know.
Experts believe it won't just be auto stores passing on the prices, but supermarkets as well.
So we could see upward pressure for meat prices, upward pressure for dairy prices. Those are the types of categories that directly hit consumers' wallets.
Tariffs are paid for by the importing country, meaning S&S Automotive suppliers would bear the costs. President Trump's tariff announcement targets America's top 3 trade partners, who accounted for 42% of all goods imported into the U.S. The president suggesting further tariffs are on the way, meaning those price increases may just be beginning.
It's just another headache, because now I have to explain to somebody else why we're raising them even more.
Brian joins us now. Brian, some major industries already warning prices are going to go up.
Yeah, Jose. Well, the Home Builders Association is warning that higher lumber costs will likely lead to higher home prices. And a coalition of spirits industries in all 3 countries say that this would significantly harm all 3 countries, reminding the White House that there are some industries like tequila which can't be reshored because they can only be made in Mexico. Jose?
Now, here's the kicker about this whole thing. The media's got everybody freaking out, right? A lot of people are uneducated on the difference between a tariff and a tax. And of course, you got MSNBC, who is known, let me mute this and get this up here on the screen, who is known for putting out false stories like they typically do. So in this video, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give a breakdown of what it actually means as far as the 25% tariff that's on Canada, that's on Mexico, and the 10% tariff that's on China. I'm going to give you some video clips that include President Trump and the new department head, who's going to be the Secretary of the Treasury, who oversees that and what his opinion of it is. And once you watch this and you listen to this, I assure you, not only will you be more confident in the tariffs, you will be rooting them on. Okay, now let's talk about like this. So let's just use Mexico for an example, or Canada for an example. In Canada, we take in around $198 billion worth of Canadian imports, and we export next to nothing. They don't allow us to import a ton of the equal services that we take in from them. We're not allowed to even import that into Canada. All right. And then the other things that we do bring in, we're tariffed on them with Mexico. We're tariffed on them in China. So what a tariff does, people say, oh, it's going to pass down to the consumer. No, it does not. A tariff works beneficial as far as in negotiating trade deficit, meaning, OK, you bringing in all this Canadian whiskey and whatnot. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a tariff on that. And so now, in order for you to import it, you're going to be losing some of your market share, some of your profit margins, should I say. See, they have 2 choices. They can do a retaliatory tariff, where now they're going to increase tariffs on products that we bring in, or they come to the table and they can negotiate. Now, let's think about Canada for a minute. We subsidize the country of Canada to the tune of about $220 billion a year. OK, now Canada's entire GDP, their gross domestic product, is only $2 trillion. $2 trillion. So if we're subsidizing them, to the tune of $220 billion, and then there's a trade deficit between us of $198 billion. So in essence, the Canadians are bringing in close to $400 billion just on dealing with America. And what economists say, their business that they do with us equates to about 38% of their GDP. So if you take out doing business with America, close to half of the Canadian economy crumbles, and that will destroy that country. Now, let's think about us, on the other hand. Our gross domestic product, our GDP, is $27 trillion. OK, and the business that we do with Canada accounts for about 3% of our GDP. Now, in the big scheme of things, as far as in what we're doing with Canada, 3% of GDP seems like it's next to nothing. But when you look at what 3% is of $27 trillion, it's still it's still a very, very high dollar amount. But America would be okay. And only certain products would be impacted where you would see price increases. So let me give a breakdown. So it's not across the board. Now, here's the difference between inflation, because I hear some people, oh, it's going to cause inflation. No, it doesn't. Inflation is caused by the printing of money, because the more money, like under the Biden administration, they were just printing money left and right. And when you flood the market with too much money, it lessens the value of that money, which means you need to spend more of it to equate the value that you would have been able to spend when inflation was lower. Okay, so understand that inflation is across the board. Okay, it wouldn't just impact some products like a tariff would. Okay, so a tariff is actually extremely beneficial as far as in trade talks. And let me tell you just how beneficial it is. Matter of fact, let me let you look at this video where a reporter is going to try to trip up President Trump. Okay, so remember, keep something in mind about the tariff. And I'm just using Canada right now because they're our biggest ally as far as we're right there neighbors. We work hand in hand with them. And it seems like the Canadian issue has people freaking out the most. Remember something. The business that Canada does with the United States, the goods they import in, the money we subsidize equates for 38%, close to half of the Canadian GDP. Their business they do with us only equates to 3% of our GDP. So if we issue a tariff on them and they issue a retaliatory tariff on us, which country do you think will be able to last the longest before they have to either crumble or give in? Same thing with Mexico. Okay. Now these countries are trying to play hardball, and I got some excellent news for you that's coming up too. And while we're doing this, before I even get started on this next clip, if you're enjoying the content of this video and you're picking up something so far, do me a favor, hit the like button. I'll never ask you for a cash out. I'll never ask you for a super chat, but you hitting that like is currency. It helps me spread the video around. I'm even wearing my hubby t-shirt representing for my wife today. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And when you do, hit the notification bell and select all. That way you'll be notified when I upload new videos. So we're going to get into this clip of this reporter who, again, the media is spinning this so bad. Do you realize the things that Trump has gotten done, President Trump, in these first 2 weeks? If it was anybody else, they would consider this the greatest political start ever. His first 2 weeks are greater than almost every other president's. I probably would say greater than any other president's first 100 days, if not their entire term. Shut down the border. Notified us what's going on with the drones. Pulled us out of the WHO, pulled us out of the Paris climate crap deal. Got us back to Panama Canal. In case you didn't see or hear, Panama has said they are cutting their agreement, that contract that they have with China. And yes, it's back to the U.S. Changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Let me break down why he did that. When Biden was leaving office in his effort to try to destroy everything going on and what Trump was doing, he issued a ban on drilling on 619 million acres of land. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull that up so you can see it. 619 billion acres of land for Biden's ban on drilling offshore. I just want you to see this real quick, and I'm going to get into the Trump clip. I just want to make sure that everybody that's watching this is just to really get an understanding, so that way you're confident when you see these things. You don't lose faith. And I know if you're watching this, you're not going to lose faith in President Trump. But as you see, let me show you this. But as you can see, one of Biden's last acts was the offshore drilling ban. Okay, for 619 million acres. 625 million acres of land is what this man did, which makes absolutely zero sense for him to do it unless he was on a mission to screw the president. But anyway, Trump's undoing it. So with him doing that whole offshore drilling ban the Gulf of Mexico was included in that. So guess what? By renaming it the Gulf of America, guess what that means? That ban that he had on that, it's irrelevant because there's no drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. It's the Gulf of America now. But let's listen to the president, how one of these fake news reporters tries to trap him up and again to create panic. It's called the manic panic. Everything the liberal media is trying to do is to freak the public out and to make them say what Trump is doing is bad, but it's not. It's really great.
You promised Americans to try to reduce costs, and so many of the products would be tariffed when they come into the country. The outgoing country is not paying the tariff. The buyers in the United States pay that, and then that's passed on to consumers in most instances.
Sometimes.
How would you expect to have prices come down if you have such a broad plan for tariffs? And what do you say to the voters who want to see you reduce everyday costs?
Well, let me just tell you that I got elected for a lot of reasons. Number one was the border. Number two was inflation, because I had almost no inflation. And yet I charged hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs to countries. And think of it, I had almost no inflation and took in $600 billion of money from other countries. And tariffs don't cause inflation, they cause success, cause big success. So we're going to have great success. There could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that. I had that when I negotiated some of the good deals for the farmers. And unfortunately, those deals have been led astray by Biden and his people because they didn't enforce the deals. We have a deal with China, which is phenomenal for the farmers, but there was nobody to enforce it in the Biden administration. They let them get away with murder. So that's another thing we're going to be bringing.
Do you accept the principle of costs being
They
passed
committed to
on?
buying $50 billion worth of farm product, and they did it when I was president. As soon as I left, they stopped doing it because there was nobody in Biden to enforce it.
Do you wonder, I want to tell you something. I really believe, and this is all alleged, this is just my humble opinion. I believe that Hunter Biden got caught up in something in China, and I don't know if it was somebody maybe underage, maybe stole something happened, or maybe creepy Sleepy Joe. But something happened for them to let spy balloons roll over. As you just heard, we had trade deals where they're supposed to buy goods, agricultural goods from us, and they didn't enforce that. They literally had substations, Chinese substations set up in the United States that the feds have gone in, raided, and arrested those people. Hundreds, if not thousands, of Chinese nationals were allowed into the country. They had something on Biden.
But the tariffs are going to make us very rich and very strong, and we're going to treat other countries very fairly. But if you think about it, other countries charge us tariffs. We don't charge them tariffs, and it's about time that changes.
Sir, are you concerned about the market reaction around tariffs?
No, tariffs. The word tariff is a very misunderstood word. You've heard me say, I say it kiddingly, but it's one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary. It really is. And we've been taken advantage of because others have charged us VATs. As an example, the European Union charges us 20% plus a VAT tax, called the VAT tax, very similar. And it costs us an absolute fortune. We are treated so badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They don't take almost anything. And we have a tremendous deficit with the European Union. So we'll be doing something very substantial with the European Union. We're going to bring the level up to where it should be. And if you think of the European Union, then you go to NATO, it's largely the same group of countries. Until I came along, I mean, we were paying almost 100% of NATO only to get bad trade deals. And now it's been evened out, but very unfair it was evened out pretty good. Actually, I did a good job. They paid $440 billion if you look at the Secretary General's report, and he was here recently and he said that. He said one of the most amazing things I've ever seen is what President Trump was able to do with these countries of Europe, of which he was in charge of them, but he couldn't get them to pay. I went over, I said, you got to pay. And if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. It's very simple. But very unfair is with Ukraine because we're in for $300 billion plus, and they're in probably for $100 billion. There's a $200 billion difference. And they need it more than we do. We have an ocean in between. They don't. And so they're going to have to step it up a little bit.
Now, why is it that a businessman could come in and can realize that what we're spending versus what we're gaining from this country is way off balance, been off balance for years, let's fix it? And the media goes crazy and all the left-wing politicians, you think it's because some palms are getting greased. But guess what? Everybody freaked out. Everybody panicked. Do you know that Wall Street panicked at the announcement of these tariffs, right? Went crazy, lost their mind. The market started going crazy. And this is all off the media. The media puts this stuff out there. Oh, the tariffs are coming and the prices are going to go up. Or the threat of the tariffs coming freaks out leadership. They realize that economically they can't do the tit for tat. They bend the knee and they come to the table. But this is why we've been screwed over so bad. These left-wing weaklings, they're always worried about somebody's feelings and us looking a certain way while we're getting our backs broke in. and the other countries are getting rich. This is insane. This isn't next level Wharton Business School type stuff. This is basic common sense. And so the markets rebound after after it found out that, just so you know, matter of fact, let me play this for you and give you the good news. Because Mexico has already agreed this morning that they're going to bend the knee. And guess what Trump wanted? 10,000 troops at the border to make sure that no immigration, illegal immigration, and to crack down on those cartels and the fentanyl. This wasn't about economics. This wasn't to hurt the American citizen. It's to protect us. But think about those people who want the borders open, who love that money going out, because somehow it funnels back to them. Trump is cutting all of that. He's doing things that every other president who was serious about wanting to help America couldn't do, because the deep state was so entrenched and so strong, they couldn't do anything. But check out Harris Faulkner and her great news for us today.
With this Fox News alert, President Trump has the world's attention now. He came through on a campaign promise, hitting Canada, Mexico, and China with tariffs to protect Americans from the flow of illegal immigrants and fentanyl in this country. And we can now report Mexico and Canada are leaning into Trump's art of the deal. The president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, spoke to Trump and is saying she will send 10,000 Mexican military to their side of the southern border. That's meant to assist with the border crisis left behind by the Biden-Harris administration. Trump says they agreed to pause any tariffs for 30 days. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus.
Trump not a fool. He said, yeah, we're going to pause them for 30 days. I want to make sure you play the game right. See, these folks are just insane. They say these things and they do these things to freak out the American citizen, when in reality, there's nothing to be afraid of except for us doing nothing. Us doing nothing, that's a big problem. Him put the threat. And this is why when he's saying this stuff out loud, and people say, oh, my God, why is he saying that? He's intentionally saying this out loud. He wants the world to hear him. Because the threats of the tariffs, they grandstand. You know, Trudeau gets out there and we're going to strike back. He has to do that. He has to save face. The Mexican president, Sheinbaum, she has to do that, or else their citizens will think they're weaklings. They have to grandstand publicly, but behind the scenes, they know that that is danger for their economy. They can't sustain it. And that even if they tried it, it would have been so short-lived, it wouldn't even have been funny. It's within, like the tariffs were supposed to hit this morning. They scheduled calls over the weekend. Spoke this morning already. Boop. She's doing it. It's amazing, isn't it? Trudeau, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to do it also. But listen to what the future, soon-to-be Secretary of the Treasury has to say about the tariffs. Now, they would know something about this. You know, Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, and these freaking talking heads and these opinionated journalists, their sole mission is to get you to want to hate Trump, to get you and I to lose faith in what he's doing, is to get you and I to start bickering with each other, so we miss out on the mission, which is make America great again. Make America great again. It's not about making Republicans great, making conservatives great. It's making America great. And if those libtards want to act like that, he's going to help them in spite of the way they act. It's like Black America. I try to tell Black folks, listen, y'all call a man every single name in the book, trusting the Democrat Party. And for what? No, not really. It really took shape in the 60s. The 60s is when Black people just because prior to that, we were conservative. But the Lyndon Johnson, what they thought was this great thing he did, which now we realize was nothing but a trap. We've been loyal to the Democrat Party and have gotten nothing out of it. Nothing. And I say, why don't you give the Republican Party a chance? But if you call them racist and thinking all of this and then say, now what you going to do for us? I wouldn't do anything for anybody that disrespected me, talk crap about me, didn't vote for me. And then the next election probably won't vote for me again. So I'm going to do something to make you stronger, to help you go against me. Now, granted, as the president, you can't do that. But tell me that you wouldn't think that way. So I say, Black folk, this is counterproductive. We don't say anything when Joe Biden is running up inflation, leaving the border open, letting crime get high, writing the 1994 crime bill. Kamala Harris locking up 1,500 people over weed, leaving people on death row, knowing she had the evidence that could free them, locking up single mothers with disabled children for truancy when the child has documentation from the doctor that they can't go to school. That left side is crazy. And I put a video out recently about the clown show that recently happened this weekend at their own elections. So these libtards just want to panic, and the common person isn't like you and I. They're not listening to stuff like this. They're not reading. They're not doing research. They see the TikTok video that Roro or Kiki or Barry did somewhere off in their bedroom, and they say, oh, my God. No, they don't know. We're in the know. And guess what? Check out what the Secretary of Treasury had to say.
Piece about this. He says, the truth is that other countries have taken advantage of the United States openness for far too long because we allowed them to. Tariffs are a means to finally stand up for Americans. He also said this during his confirmation hearing.
One will be for remedying unfair trade practices. Two, maybe for a more generalized tariff as a revenue raiser for the federal budget. Tariffs can be used for negotiations, whether it's for Mexico on the fentanyl crisis. I think you and the American people should think about those three broad categories.
Wow. That's the Secretary of the Treasury. So tariffs are a great thing. Negotiating tool first. Issue the threat on a grand stage, let them all know. Then put the paperwork in process to let them know I'm not playing. It kicks off tomorrow. And then when they decide they want to negotiate, you give them a little window to make sure that you can finalize negotiations, put it in concrete, and then proceed. The markets were not disrupted. As a matter of fact, those overzealous people that listened to Joy Reid and MSNBC panicked, sold their stocks, and now guess what? The market, like I showed you before, let me go back to it. The market itself has rebounded. There was nothing to bounce back from. It was just manic panic. So great news for America. Mexico has agreed. Tariffs pause. Canada, he's speaking with Trudeau. He's already spoken with Trudeau by now. I'm pretty sure we're going to hear the same exact thing that, Trudeau has saw the light. And guess what? It is because of America's might. So with these things that he's doing, and the European Union better be on guard. NATO, we were funding almost 100% of NATO. And that Ukraine-Russian war is over there across the pond with them. But the European countries are paying 1% of their GDP, if that, while America's subsidizing it to the tune of about $68-70 billion. No. We have a businessman in the White House. And then our lineup, our bench is phenomenal. We got J.D. Vance, businessman, everybody. We got Vivek. We have everybody almost on our conservative leadership are business owners who built small, successful to humongous conglomerates. As opposed to look at the left, you got career politicians who've never built anything. That's why they don't care about giving the money away. It's not theirs. They'll just keep printing. Think about it. Joe Biden was in politics for 50 years. He's never built anything. Kamala Harris never built anything. Now we have a builder. And when I say that, I mean literally. The man was a builder who fought against the mob in the 70s and the 80s. Anybody that can withstand dealing with the mob and can take $1 million and turn it into a multi-billion global conglomerate deserves our respect. And luckily, you and I gave it to him. So, hey, listen, this video went a little longer than what I expected. I appreciate you for hanging out with me and watching this. If you haven't already liked the video, share this video. If you aren't subscribed, subscribe. Other than that, I'm Brian Maxwell saying thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out.